Hello and good evening, Chicago. Welcome back for another edition of Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. The Bears' losing streak continues. 5 consecutive games now dropped. They go 0 for November. Does it mean anything, though? Especially in a game where Justin Fields didn't play. Is there anything to be taken away from their second trip to the Meadowlands this season? We will discuss that and, of course, start the show there. But we're not going to be talking just football tonight. No, the White Sox were in the news. They made a signing yesterday to bring in a new pitcher, but then the longtime, arguably the face of their franchise, has officially left. Jose Abreu, as expected, signed elsewhere in free agency this afternoon. He will now be a Houston Astro. We will discuss that as well, plus the Mike Clevenger signing. And finally, before we get out of here, the Bulls, they're just confusing. That's all there is to it with the Bulls right now. I don't know what to make of them. We'll try to make some sense of that. And there's a fairly important soccer match tomorrow afternoon concerning the U.S. So we will do a little bit of World Cup action before we get out of here. All that and more. This is Chi-Town Weekly. Buckle it on up, everybody. Let's try to have some fun. And once again, hello and good evening. Welcome, everyone. Welcome on in to another edition of Chi-Town Weekly, here part of the IE Sports Radio family of podcasts and shows for you here tonight. I am your host, Adam Karnick. Thank you for being with me tonight here. Lots to go down, lots to go through. Of course, we're going to be breaking down the Bears extending their losing streak, managing to go 0 for the month of November. We will be talking that. We're also going to be talking some White Sox tonight. A couple of signings, one in the positive, one in the negative there for the White Sox. We might even sneak in some Bulls talk tonight and a little bit of World Cup if all things go according to plan here tonight. But before we get any further, of course, we do need to pay the bills, as it were. IE Sports Radio, the world of semi-pro sports is unlike any other. For the last 8 years, IE Sports Radio has been bringing you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. All the while, we've continued to be by the fans and for the fans. With your help, we are ready to take the next step. When you go to our website, iesportsradio.com, you'll see our Patreon link with 5 different tiers. The first one starts at just $5 a month. This donation gets you a shout-out on every one of our shows. Higher tiers include IE Sports Radio merchandise, access to our podcasting university, and even a chance to be featured on a segment of our flagship show, The Defining Moment. Thank you all very much for continuing to make IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that is sports. And shout out now to our Patreon supporters, Bay Area Raised, Emlos Great, Key to the Gate, and Anonymous. Thank you for your continued support. IE Sports Radio, you may have heard they're the website, iesportsradio.com. We're also available for you on all the major social platforms. Just search IE Sports Radio. You find us Facebook, Twitter, it still exists, Instagram, TikTok, it's all there for you. This show is also available for you on Twitter. We are at IESRC. I am at Adam_Karnick. Those are ways you can follow along with us as we talk sports all during the week, but also obviously here directly during the show. And if you are listening live here tonight on the Spreaker app, hop on into the chat. We see Taryn Rodriguez. We find Marcus Los Great there. Good evening, sirs. Glad that you are here with us. Hop on into the chat room. We can have some fun and interact that way. Or if you are listening later on in the week on Spreaker or Spotify, iHeartRadio, YouTube, any of the other ways that you can interact with the show that way, or you just want to sit back and listen to me talk and maybe, I don't know, holler at me off into the silence, that is fine. I am here for you in whatever way makes you feel comfortable. Just thank you for being here. I do want to say good evening to both Taryn and Marcus hanging out with us in the chat. Taryn's letting us know the Loyola women's volleyball team did make the NCAA tournament. Taryn will have a full breakdown of that coming up right after us here in about 50 minutes or so. He's going to have a full breakdown of the NCAA volleyball field of 64. He's also just depressed that Jose Abreu left for the Astros. I know, anybody going to the Astros, I know, but the Sox weren't going to pay him. That's the part of it that I don't get and don't understand. We will get into that later on into the show. The White Sox are weird. We're gonna they're trying to not be, but they still for every step forward they seem to take at least one back. So we'll be getting into that a little bit more later on in the show. But I do want to start off tonight's show with the Bears game from yesterday. We'll start with the weirdness that was going on at the quarterback position. Of course, as everyone expected yesterday afternoon, 90 minutes before kickoff, when they come out with the inactive list. Of course, Justin Fields is on there. No surprise. I mean, as soon as Nathan Peterman was activated off of the practice squad on Saturday afternoon, I turned to a coworker of mine had asked, "Oh, what are they going to? Have we heard anything about Justin?" And I said, "No, but I figure we will later today." And sure enough, at that point, we saw the news that Nathan Peterman was being activated, and I turned to him. I said, "There you go. There's the news. Justin's not going to play." They wouldn't bother to activate the third stringer off of the practice squad and force somebody else out of their job just so that they could continue with a ruse at that point. You knew that Justin wasn't going to play. But then about 45 minutes before kickoff, they then informed us that Trevor Siemian is not going to be starting, that instead it's going to be Nathan Peterman starting because Siemian hurt himself in warm-ups. And then about 15 or 20 minutes before the game, they said, no, never mind. It will be Siemian. He's fine. We were able to stretch it out. He's going to be fine. Siemian's going to start, and Peterman's going to be the backup. So it was a mess there to start the game. Siemian did say afterwards that he was embarrassed about how all that went down, that he just hurt himself stretching and looked like he might miss the game. Had Peterman started, David Montgomery would have been the Bears' backup quarterback at that point. It had me thinking a little bit about hockey's emergency backup goalie rule, the E-bug rule, how they'll have somebody in the arena at all times that kind of break glass in case of an emergency. If something goes horribly wrong and a team runs out of goalies, the home team has to have somebody on hand that can at least be a body in the net. And I was, the NFL should adopt a rule like that. That'd be something to just have an emergency. You have somebody there that can play quarterback at all costs. It doesn't matter. That way you don't have to worry about doing the high school thing of like just grabbing somebody off the bench and, all right, you're the quarterback now. Okay. I digress anyway. Honestly, that was the most entertaining part about the game yesterday. Now, full disclosure. And Darren wondering, the Bears might as well go with Nathan Peterman. No, Peterman can be worse. Remember, this is the man who, we'll ask Patty about this tomorrow. Patty Bax of the Buffalo Huddle. Tomorrow afternoon tomorrow evening at 6 Central Time. She does an amazing job with the Buffalo Huddle. I'm sure she can tell us I'm sure she has less than fond memories of Nathan Peterman, the quarterback. I don't know. I'm sure she's got fond memories of Nathan Peterman, the person. But Nathan Peterman, the quarterback, this is the same guy that threw 5 interceptions and a half at one point. So things can always be worse. I was just fine with Peterman not playing yesterday. Now, full disclosure, my in-laws are still here. And we were working on decorating the house and getting the Christmas tree up. So suffice to say, my attention was divided during the game yesterday. I did watch the game. I did have it on. I was paying not as close of attention as usual, but I did have it on. I wouldn't have blamed anybody for just skipping out on that game entirely. That game just looked miserable. The rain was coming down. It was in the 40s. Everybody was soaking wet. The stadium was only half full. It was a battle between two backup quarterbacks and an offense that for most of the game could not get out of its own way. So that was a slog of a game yesterday for the Bears. They just, with Justin Fields not playing, you have to wonder, what are we doing here? What can you really learn from a game where your franchise quarterback doesn't play? What we learned was just how much Fields had been doing to keep this thing afloat. And obviously it wasn't doing great because they had lost 4 straight games with him at starting quarterback. They've only won a game since the month of September. But how much can you really take away from yesterday? And then you add in all the injuries. Mooney goes out, and he's done for the season. He's going to have surgery on his ankle. He's done. Your leading receiver is now done for the final 5 games. You're now Equiminius St. Brown is currently the Bears' leading receiver with all of 19 catches at this point in the season. We're 12 games into this thing. Eddie Jackson goes down partway through. We still don't know the status on him. You didn't have Jaquan Brisker or Kyler Gordon in that game yesterday because they were both out with concussions. So what do you really have to take away? You knew the defense was bad, even with Eddie, Jaquan, and Kyler. And then you take them out, and there's just nothing there. There is nothing there that is above replacement level on defense. Offensively, you take Justin Fields out of the equation. Okay, Montgomery ran for 80 yards and caught a couple of passes. Okay, that's nice. I don't think Monty's back. I don't think he's back next season, so that doesn't really do anything for me. Khalil Herbert's still out, so you don't have anything you're gaining there. The offensive line is still a shambles. Riley Reif went down, so that meant Larry Borum had to come in, and then Larry Borum had to go out, so they had to put Michael Schofield in. We know that Schofield's bad. We know that Reif isn't going to be back next year. Neither is Schofield, for that matter. So there's nothing really to learn there. And I come away from this game with just burn the tape. Just burn the tape and move on. Yeah, Taryn chiming in about Darnell Mooney. Yes, Mooney is done. Yeah, Mooney, they announced, Coach Eberflus announced today, Darnell Mooney is done for the season. He's going to have He's having surgery on his ankle, and he is done. He will be done for this season. Hopefully it won't be a super long rehab, and he'll be able to get back out there in the off season and work on some things with Fields, but he is done for the remainder of this season. He's not going to play in the final 5 games. I guess if you want to take some things away from yesterday, we did see Byron Pringle made a great catch in the end zone. That was an awful, horrible, terrible decision on the part of Trevor Siemian to throw that ball. I mean, you watch that play, and I mean, Pringle literally intercepts it from the defender to get the touchdown in the end zone. It was that bad of a pass. It was right at the defender, and Pringle just up and overed him, which was a nice play to see. But then you watch it again, and you realize that Mooney is wide open in the flat. That if Siemian just turns and throws to Mooney right away, Mooney just walks into the end zone. So terrible decision in so many ways by Siemian, but a nice job by Pringle to make the catch. Okay, but if Pringle's anything more than your number 4 wide receiver next year, then you've still got problems there at that position. Chase Claypool was at least involved in the game plan a little bit. He had a couple of catches for 51 yards. He had some targets. Still apparently can't get a pass interference flag thrown his way. Can you help him out? But we saw him be involved a little bit in the offensive game plan. And yes, Taryn is definitely, unless you're in a keeper league, and even if you are in a keeper league, I would still, yes, dump Darnell Mooney from your fantasy roster. There's no sense in keeping it unless you're in a dynasty league. You know, if you're in a dynasty league, then maybe you consider keeping him. But if you're in a redraft league or even a standard keeper league, you should be dropping Darnell Mooney at this point. I mean, Jack Sanborn made a lot of tackles yesterday. I know a lot of people are excited about Jack Sanborn, the linebacker, and that makes sense. He's an undrafted rookie free agent. He's scrappy. He's from the area. Yeah, he's that white collar, he's that blue collar mentality kind of guy. Sure, I can understand why the fans are getting behind him, but I can't help shake the feeling that part of the reason he's getting as many of the tackles as he is, the defense is kind of designed for his position to make a lot of tackles. That's why they had Roquan Smith playing that position before they traded him, was they said, hey, we want a very sure-handed tackler at this position, because if everything's going right, he should be getting lots of opportunities to make tackles. And now you have Sanborn playing that, and guess what? He's getting lots of opportunities to make tackles. So, okay, I can't get too excited over Jack Sanborn. Armon Watts did make a nice play on that sack. Friend of the program, Sean Hammond, pointed out when Watts, he got his first sack of the season yesterday. And friend of the program, Sean Hammond, tweeted out, oh, he's just a third of the way to for the team lead in sacks. Oh, no. Oh, no. The fact that we're 12 games into this thing and nobody has more than 3 sacks on this team. Yug. Just what? As a result, you can't even really evaluate the coaching staff all that well, because they're just, there are fans. I know there are fans that want to get upset with Eberflus and especially defensive coordinator Alan Williams saying, come on, isn't this defense supposed to be better than this? But look what they have to work with. That is an island of misfit toys that they have there all up and down the roster. And then you take away the few playmakers they have in Quinn, Smith, Bojax, Brisker, and Gordon. There's nothing there to work with. There's nothing there. You have a defense full of third stringers, special teamers, and practice squad guys that you're throwing out there and just, okay, guys, go do your best. Do your best. So there's not a whole lot to take away from that game yesterday. It certainly wasn't fun. It certainly was not a fun game. Hopefully, we see Justin Fields this week. And I say that for a couple of reasons. One, there's more development there to be done with him, as I've talked before. He's by no means a finished product. I'd love to get him back out there so that he can continue progressing, even if it's with primarily receivers that he's not going to be throwing to next year. Just to continue that evolution, continue that progress that you make there. And also, it's Packers week. I know that ultimately the Bears aren't going to win very many games. You look at December. December is a meat grinder. They're all at home, fortunately, but you've got the Packers, then the bye week, the Eagles, and the Bills in December. Yuck. That is a meat grinder of a schedule. And then you follow that up in January with the Lions and the Vikings. I know that at best there's 2 wins there, and there's probably not even that many. The 1 win, possibly even none, depending on how everything goes. I mean, the Vikings could have the division. The Vikings should certainly have the division sewn up by week 18. Probably they'll have it sewn up by the end of this week. So it's very possible the Vikings will have nothing to play for that final week. So, there's things there to be had for Fields. There's opportunities there to progress. But you're playing the Packers this week. You have a chance to have a ceremonial changing of the guard moment, to go from Aaron Rodgers being the king of the division to Justin Fields being the king quarterback in the NFC North. And I'd love to have that. I don't know if we will. Heck, we might not even have Aaron Rodgers. It might be Jordan Love. We'll see. Rodgers got hurt last night against the Eagles in their loss. Now, we all know Aaron Rodgers gets what Aaron Rodgers wants there in Green Bay, and he has said as long as medical clears him, he's going to play. But if you're the Packers, you're sitting there at 4-8. What's the point, of starting Aaron Rodgers? So we might see Jordan Love. It might be Jordan Love versus Trevor Siemian this week, which would be a far more boring game. But I want to see Fields again, and I'd love to see him just take it to the Packers. So, but I don't know if we're going to get that. Hopefully we do. But still, for this game, throw it in the trash, move on. All right, speaking of moving on, we are going to take a quick break, and then on the other side, we are going to change gears, and we're going to talk some baseball. The hot stove picked up a little bit over the weekend, and it bled into today. The Sox have a new pitcher, but they have lost a first baseman. We will discuss all that here on Chi-Town Weekly, on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Davidson. It's your boy Dentarius Live.
And we are the hosts of Fast Break here on IE Sports Radio, where we discuss everything in the world of basketball from prep to the pros.
You guys should definitely check us out, man. Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. We got all the basketball information you guys need, so we look forward to you guys listening in.
And please do, because we are the best basketball show on this side of the Mississippi. And please do check us out on Twitter at FastBreakISR. D-Lock, where's our time again?
8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. That give you guys plenty of time on a Sunday.
Tune in.
Are you a fan of the best teams in the Buckeye State? Then this is a show for you. This is the State of Ohio Sports, where I, your host, Andrew Higginbotham, will bring you all the professional news as well as all things college from Northeast Ohio and Cleveland, all the way down to Southwest Ohio and Cincinnati, and even in the heart of the state in the state capital of Columbus. So if this sounds like the show for you, check out the State of Ohio Sports show every Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, 11 a.m. Pacific on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
What's going on, football fans? This is me, your boy Larry B, inviting you to join myself, Colin Reynolds, Mike Pat, and John Felipe for one of the most electrifying football shows you have ever heard. 3 and Out, right here at IE Sports Radio. Recap of the week before, a preview of what's to come, and of course, 3 hardcore head-to-head prime-time face-offs each week. You don't want to miss it.
Some say that Indiana is just a flyover state. Flatlands and cornfields, barns and country roads. What if I told you Indiana is the crossroads of America? What if I told you in all other states, basketball is just basketball? In Indiana, basketball is life. Crowded high school basketball gyms on a Friday night, and every barn with a basketball rim and a frayed, worn-out net. If you're interested in the heartbeat of America, and if you're interested in sports, if you have Hoosier running through your veins, the Crossroads Pod with Aaron X is made for you. Powered by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Each and every week, the Crossroad Pod covers all of Indiana sports. The pride of the horseshoe of the Indianapolis Colts. The blue-collar gold swagger of the Indiana Pacers. The relentless pursuit of the sixth banner for the Indiana Hoosiers. The swing of the hammer of the Purdue Boilermakers. The swoop of the Cardinals of Ball State. The summoning of the echoes of the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. The growl of the Bulldogs of Butler. The intensity of an Indiana fever. The chop of the Indianapolis Indians. At the Crossroads Pod, if it is Indiana, we've got you covered. More than cornfields. More than country back roads. The Crossroads of America. Join me, Aaron X, every week. It's nothing but net.
Hey there, sports fans. Are you looking for a sports show that maybe isn't 100% about sports?
Then you might want to check out the Sports Couple Perspectives right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Most sports shows cover only scores and stats, and while we're not opposed to that, we dig a little deeper into sports issues and some of the hottest topics in athletics.
In addition to sports, we take a journey through my neck of the woods, pop culture, with movie reviews of both sports and non-sports films.
Speaking of pop culture, make sure to participate in our game nights, where we quiz each other on our specialties, and you, the listeners, can win IE Sports Radio apparel.
We always have a great time learning more about each other's worlds, one show at a time.
So join us each week on the Sports Couple Perspectives, right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
And welcome back into Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Adam Karnick here with you for another 20 minutes or so before we turn things over to Taryn Rodriguez and Set Point, getting us caught up on the world of volleyball. So, of course, we talked a lot of Bears there in the opening segment of the show, and they burn the tape game that happened yesterday against the Jets, 31-10 in their second trip to the Meadowlands. It was interesting. I did see yesterday, I wasn't aware of this, that loss ended a 5-game winning streak against the Jets, and that doesn't seem like much until you take into account that the teams only play each other once every 4 years. So it had been, over 20 years since the Jets had beaten the Bears. I did not realize that going into the game yesterday. So, good for the Jets, I guess. Good for them to snap that. Frankly, if you couldn't beat that team, then you don't deserve beating many other teams in the NFL if you couldn't find sustained success against that defense. So, wanted to turn things over and talk a little bit of baseball, though. The hot stove offseason is starting to gear up a little bit, and we've had some moves now. The last couple of years, of course, last year, of course, there was the lockdown, the shutdown, where owners were locking out players and just refused to do anything with them and didn't want to sign anybody or do anything until May, realistically. But even the last few off seasons before that, it had been very quiet. There hadn't been much action until mid to late January a lot of times. Even rolling into February, you were still finding great free agents just sitting there waiting for teams to sign them. So the fact that the calendar is still in November and we are seeing some players move around and find new places is somewhat exciting and somewhat encouraging. Hopefully we're going to have some better relationships between the players' union and owners and teams here going forward a little bit. But one thing that I was hoping that I wouldn't see this offseason was Jose Abreu signing with another team. Jose Abreu, the White Sox are in a weird spot. And it's self-inflicted. They've brought it on themselves. They've got all these players that are all very similar skill types, very similar skill sets, that you can't have everybody either be a designated hitter or be a first baseman. But the Sox seem to have like 8 or 9 of those guys on the roster. And then compound that with a coaching staff that was telling them, don't try to hit home runs, try to hit for contact. And most of them couldn't do that. And then pile on top the fact that a lot of them just had never fielded their position before, whatever position they were in. It was, I've never actually played this position before, but sure, I'll go out and try that. Coach, sure, I'll go out and play right field. I'll go out and try left field. Why not? What's the worst that could happen? Oh, I could just not catch balls that are hit towards me. But one of the constants, so you knew that the White Sox coming into this offseason, there was going to have to be some addition by subtraction going on. But one guy you couldn't make the case that losing him makes the team better was Jose Abreu. Abreu, yes, he's old. He's 35. He's going to be 36 next season. And his power numbers were down slightly. But still, listen to these numbers for Jose Abreu from last year. Slash line of 304, 378, 446. And I apologize, I should have had this number up during the commercial break there. But that's an OPS. That's an OPS of 824. An OPS plus a score of 133. And remember, 100 is average. So he's 33 points above average. 40 doubles, only 15 home runs, 75 RBIs, 85 runs, and a WAR of 4.2. I don't understand how you make the argument that the Sox are better without Jose Abreu. I understand they're very limited on where they could play him. That he wants to play first base. He probably can't play first base anymore. Not very well defensively anyway. And you've got so many other guys on this roster that you'd like to use as designated hitters. Eloy Jimenez leaps to mind. And you've probably got Yasmani Grandal that you don't want him catching anymore. I don't know that you want him designated hitting either. He can't hit. And that is kind of a requirement for a designated hitter, that he needs to hit the ball. But still, Abreu was a guy that it felt like you should figure out a way to bring him back. He wants to be there. He loves the organization. That it's the only organization he's ever known. He has frequently in the past, he has actively told the team, I will take a pay cut to stay here. I'm not going anywhere. I don't want to go anywhere. But then we get the news today that he has signed a 3-year free agent deal with the Houston Astros. The defending champion Houston Astros, also known as the Houston Trash Cans or the Houston Cheaters. Yes, I'm still not over it. Maybe, as we've discussed before, maybe if they would actually get punished for cheating, maybe I'd get over it. Maybe if Jose Altuve would get suspended for, I don't know, a year, maybe I'd get over it. But Abreu signs a 3-year deal in Houston. Looks like it's about a $58.5 million deal. Just under $20 million a year. So Abreu finishes his career, finishes his White Sox career on the whole, 292 average, over 1,400 hits, 243 home runs, 863 RBIs. He is third in home runs. He's top 10 in all of the following categories for the White Sox: doubles, home runs, RBI, runs, hits, total bases. Top 10 in all those offensive categories. This would seem to mean that Andrew Vaughn should be the starting first baseman going forward. But it's still, it's a tough day. Tough day for Sox fans that Abreu is gone. Now, they will see him, on opening day. They open in Houston, taking on the Astros. So they will get to see him again on opening day. He's just going to be, on the other side. And there was talk that Cleveland was also in the market looking for him. Cleveland.com reported that they also offered him a 3-year deal. He decided to go to Houston rather than go to Cleveland. So, best of luck. Best of luck to Abreu. He was always a fantastic player in Chicago. I would have loved to have seen the Cubs sign him. That would have been tremendous and wonderful to have seen him stay in Chicago. Alas, he goes to Houston. On the positive side, though, the Sox did bring in a pitcher over the weekend. Mike Clevenger came in. Taryn will be able to tell us a little bit about Clevenger. He most recently threw for the San Diego Padres last year. He made 23 starts for San Diego. Last year was his first year back after having Tommy John surgery. Missed all of 2021. It was his second Tommy John surgery. But Clevenger earlier in his career was a front-of-the-line possible Cy Young candidate with Cleveland. Then he has Tommy John. But still, he was last year with the Padres. 7-7, a 4.33 ERA. He did... his strikeout rate went down quite a bit towards the end of last season. And hopefully that's something that he can get back. His four-seamer kind of disappeared on him. He had to rely a lot more on his sinker, which was a pitch he wasn't as comfortable with, it looks like. So hopefully they're able to work some magic with him a little bit, get his four-seamer back to where it was a little bit. It's a low, it's a 1-year deal, low risk, high reward kind of a signing, kind of a deal. You look at, and he's probably going to take the spot that Johnny Cueto had in the starting rotation. You look at this starting rotation for the White Sox, and if they can get solid years out of all these guys, Dylan Cease, Lance Lynn, Michael Kopech, Mike Clevenger, and Lucas Giolito, if you can get quality performance, I would say back of the baseball card kind of numbers from those guys, that's a heck of a starting rotation that you've got there. That's you can make something work with that there in Chicago. So the Clevenger signing, ultimately, I like it for a guy who's probably going to be your fourth or fifth starter. That's a nice signing. Hopefully, it's not the only signing that the White Sox make, but it's a nice start. It's a nice start there in trying to shore up some pieces there for the White Sox as they try to salvage something out of this championship window. I still think there's moves to be made, deals to be done. Honestly, I still wouldn't be surprised to see them move on from somebody like Aloy or maybe even Tim Anderson, Yohan Moncada, see if they can get something for one of those guys and try to rebuild the team a little bit on the fly here. But I like the signing of Clevenger. All right, we are going to take one more quick break, and then I got to be honest, I'm confused by the Bulls. They make no sense. We'll try to see if we can make some sense of them here on the other side of a break. This is Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Hey sports fans, do you like wine? Well, we've got the show for you. This is Let's Wine About Sports, a show where we talk about wine and sports simultaneously. From the classic Cabernet Sauvignon all the way down to the grapes that you've never even heard of before. Oh yeah, we cover it all. And we'll talk about a little bit of sports as well. Football, hockey, collegiate, women's sports, it doesn't matter. We're going to talk about it all, and we're going to whine about it all. So join me Monday at 8 p.m. on IU Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
It's a new era of soccer in America, and the Stars and Stripes are ready to prove it to you. Don't believe us? Good. Christian Pulisic leads the United States of America into the 2022 World Cup, coming to the USRN family of networks this November.
What's up, everybody? This is Darren Rodriguez. Are you a fan of volleyball? Are you a fan of Thunderous Spikes? Then I have the show for you, Set Point, where I cover NCAA men's and women's volleyball, high school boys and girls volleyball, beach volleyball, and even professional volleyball. Catch the action every week here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
And welcome back in here to Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Adam Karnick here, going to wrap things up here in just the next 5 or 7 minutes or so before we turn things over to Taryn Rodriguez of Set Point as he gets us caught up and breaks down the brackets for the NCAA volleyball tournaments that are set to begin very soon. Before we do that, though, I am very confused, okay? I need somebody to help me understand this, all right? The Chicago Bulls. We talked about them a little bit last week. They're getting ready tonight. So tonight they're getting ready to play in Utah against the Jazz. Part of a West Coast trip that the Bulls are doing. Part of a 6-game road trip that they're doing. After this, they'll head to Phoenix and play the Suns. Then they go to Golden State, take on the Warriors. Then they take on the Kings before finally coming home December 7th. Next week, Wednesday. They're finally home again. Home again, riggedy jig. So when we talked last week, I was feeling like, boy, this is teetering on the edge of something here. This is getting bad. You know, you had Zach LaVine getting ready to call out the coach. You have players starting to get a little bit frustrated, and you could hear it in their voices. And it makes sense. They lost to the Magic. You know, if there's teams that anybody that feels like they should be beating, you should be beating the Orlando Magic, especially when you're the home team. And they'd lost to the Pelicans a couple times before that. They were just in a bad place. Then they turn around, and in consecutive games, they beat the Celtics and the Bucks. And they put on some defensive performances that just startling. I mean, DeMar DeRozan was playing defense and looking good at it and wasn't just going through the motions, waiting to get the ball again to make a mid-range shot. They took it to the Celtics. They went into Milwaukee and came from behind in the fourth quarter. Kobe White, a couple of just ice-cold dagger threes to give them the lead. late in that one. All right, so maybe then they're going to turn this around and they're going to be something, right? Well, then they go into Oklahoma City. The Thunder aren't any good. The Bulls had the lead late in that one and couldn't hold on to it, and they wind up losing in Oklahoma City in overtime to the Thunder. I don't understand this team. They're confusing, and I don't know what to make of them right now. I don't think they're any good. I do think, unfortunately, they're as we talked about last week, I do feel like, unfortunately, their window has closed at this point, that they've got to do something here. Now, Utah's on a 4-game losing skid coming into the game tonight. They're 6-2 at home overall, but the Bulls just showed us by winning in Milwaukee that apparently that doesn't mean anything. You know, Milwaukee had lost once at home before that game last week. So I don't know what to make of this in this situation here. I'd like to think that I'd like to think that the Bulls are going to show us who they are on this trip, on this long trip. But I don't know what's more real, the team that beat the Celtics and the Bucks or the team that lost to the Thunder. Hopefully after this road trip, we'll have some answers and we'll be able to discuss them a little bit more at length. One team that hopefully is not dead, that their championship window has not ended. The U.S. men's national team in the World Cup, they play tomorrow, 1 o'clock Central against Iran. It doesn't get any simpler than this. Win and you're in. Win and you advance. The U.S. men's team has a chance to advance to the round of 32, to advance out of group play. And, I mean, that's impressive. You know, you figure that last time the World Cup came around, we didn't even qualify to be looking and to be in the same group as England. You know, to be playing in the same group as England and to be in control of our own destiny even after that match with England. This is a good situation overall for the men. Hopefully we will see something from them and we'll be able to talk about them a little bit more. I am learning about this sport as we go on the fly here. I'm going to be very honest about that. After the England match, I was texting a buddy of mine. Well, I've had him on the show, my buddy Evan, who's been on the show before and is very into soccer. And is all right. Was this good or was this bad? He was ecstatic. He was ecstatic that they played to a draw. So all's well here as long as they didn't lose. So now there is some recent history. They've made it to the round of 16 in 2010 and 2014, but of course didn't even qualify last time. So it'll be interesting to see how this all goes for the U.S. men's national team tomorrow afternoon against Iran in Qatar. That is going to do it for our show tonight. Thank you, of course, to the Master Overlord here at IE Sports Radio, the one and only Larry B. Thank you for all the work you do behind the scenes, Larry. I know you are hard at work recruiting more hosts and setting up for the Podcasting University this weekend and all the other things that you do. It goes noticed, believe me, brother. Thank you to Taryn and Marcus for hanging out with us in the chat room tonight. Thank you to our Patreon supporters, Bay Area Raised, Heat of the Gate, Emlos Great, and Anonymous. And please feel free, especially in the holiday season, if you are at all able, please, iesportsradio.com for just $5 a month. You can shout out your business or your cause, whatever it is. $5 a month gets you a shout out on every single one of our shows. We've got 30 of them every single week. iesportsradio.com. Finally, thank you for coming and listening to the show. I really do appreciate it. It means a lot that you guys come here each and every week and make time for me in your sports life. This is a lot of fun. I enjoy doing it. All right. Next week, of course, we're going to be breaking down Bears-Packers, see what, if anything, we learn out of that game. Hopefully, we have a changing of the guard. We have a passing of the torch kind of a moment as Justin Fields is able to play and just runs roughshod all over that Packers team that cannot stop the run. Hopefully we'll be talking about a Bears victory. Until then, I am Adam Karnick. This is Chi-Town Weekly. Everybody have a great week. Have a great start to your holiday season, and we will see you next time.